Hello there, welcome to the African Football Corner, where we bring you the voices shaping African football, from the dugout to the dressing room and beyond. Today, we turn our spotlight to one of Africa's most experienced tacticians, a man whose coaching journey has taken him across the continent, from Namibia to Zimbabwe, Malawi to Gambia, and now Mali. Since taking charge of Les Aigles in September 2024, he's built one of the most disciplined and exciting teams in Africa, topping the AFCON qualifying group unbeaten, scoring 10 goals and conceding just one. With an impressive 2.25 points per match average, Mali's best record since 2002, he's preparing to lead the Eagles into the 2025 AFCON in Morocco, where they'll face host nation Morocco, Zambia and Comoros in Group A. Now, Belgian tactician Tom Saintfiet joins the African Football Corner to talk about Mali's AFCON ambitions, African football's evolution, and the journey that's made him one of the most respected coaches on the continent. Coach Tom Saintfiet, welcome to the African Football Corner. It's a pleasure to have you with us. You've been a part of African football for over 2 decades. How would you describe African football's evolution during your time here?
Ways. First of all, I think there are not many small football nations anymore on the continent. Maybe a few, if you talk about Seychelles or Sao Tome and Principe, maybe Mauritius, but most of the countries look to Lesotho, Djibouti, Mauritania, Comoros, Chad. They are highly respected. They have a lot of players also playing abroad in Europe, and they have very good infrastructure. They are competing with the better in this continent. We saw problems by big nations. I saw Morocco only winning in the dying minutes in Lesotho with 0-1. These kind of things you could not expect 20 years ago. On the other side, also the big nations developed very well in the way of infrastructure. I think Morocco is the biggest example of that, with their academies, with their stadiums, their training infrastructure, and their coaching development. They became one of the powerhouses in African and even world football. So I think there's a huge development on all levels, and I'm only very happy for African football it happens.
Well, in your time here, you've managed national teams like Gambia's national team. You're now with Mali's national team. You've been with the Togolese national team as well. What do you think sets African football apart from the rest of the world, both in terms of our style and our spirit?
Yeah, first of all, my desire was always there to work in Africa. I know that several European coaches, they come to Africa when they don't get any more opportunities in Europe, or they come to Africa for the money. Me, as a young guy and a young coach, I bought always African football magazines you could buy in French language in Belgium. And one of my examples was, as a young coach, always Philippe Trousier, who made a brilliant career with Morocco, Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire, Nigeria, South Africa, and other countries in Africa. And for me, working in Africa was always a goal and a desire. First of all, I love the passion of the public in Africa. I think Africa is the continent where people love the most football. Football is huge importance for the people, for the public, both on club level and national team level. People watch every day football on TV, but also in the stadium. They love their stars and they love to chant for their teams. On the other side, I think Africa is probably the continent with the most quality of players. If you look to the quality of development in Europe compared to the quality of development of players in Africa we don't have so many professional clubs with academies with professional development, but the biggest stars in European football are African players. Can you imagine that when you have a similar development and a similar infrastructure in Africa like in Europe, you become world champion? And naturally Morocco and even Ghana in 2009, and now Morocco in this year with the under-20 proved already on that level to be the best in the world. And I think it doesn't take so long anymore that an African country on senior level become a world champion, because Africa is, first of all, a brilliant football-loving continent, but also a continent with huge quality of players.
Thank you very much, Coach, for your thoughts on general impressions on the African football over your 2 decades you've been. Let's now zoom into your work at hand. You lead the Eagles of Mali into their AFCON campaign, but let's look at your your work so far. Since taking over in September 2024, your Mali side has recorded 8 wins, 3 draws, and just 1 loss, with the best points per match average since 2002. That's about 23 years now. What has been the key to this consistency?
Yeah, first of all, when I arrived in 29 August last year, Mali had some problems. The coach got just sacked, but also there were some conflicts between federation and some players, and naturally the results were not good. When I took over, the World Cup qualifiers were already played for 4 matches, and Mali had played 3 at home, with only a win against Chad at home, a draw at home against Central African Republic, and a draw away against Madagascar, and the loss at home against the Black Stars of Ghana. So they had only 5 points after 4 matches. They were not really in a good state. But immediately we tried to change things. We had some new players in our list of players. We changed a little bit the style of playing. Mali is always known for their beautiful football, but we also wanted to be more result orientated. Because on the end, you can play good, but if you lose the important matches, you can't achieve what you want. And that mentality we wanted to change. And together with my staff, together with the federation, with the government, we built step by step. And we had a good start in the AFCON qualifiers, as you already mentioned. We were with Mozambique and Guinea-Bissau, 2 countries who played in the last AFCON, and even Mozambique of Guinea-Bissau in the last 4 AFCONs, and Eswatini. And yeah, we qualified quite easy as number 1. We had 4 wins and 2 draws. We conceded only 1 goal and scored 10 goals in these qualifiers. But I think we kept the momentum also in the World Cup qualifiers, where we had the last 6 games, also 4 wins, 1 draw. And the only loss was naturally in Accra in September of this year against the Black Stars, and that was really disappointing. So over these 12 competitive matches, quite good record, 22 goals scored, still quite offensive because 22 goals is not bad, and only 3 goals conceded. So I think we brought an organization. We renewed a little bit the squad because we invited some new players. In total, 15 players made their debut in the last 14 months since I'm there. And yeah, we brought a new image and a new feeling to the team, and hopefully we will be ready for AFCON.
Mali has qualified for 10 consecutive AFCONs, and the nation still dreams of lifting the trophy for the first time. What's the mindset going to Morocco 2025?
Yeah, Mali is always that country what people say is one of the favorites or one of the outsiders, and that was also one of the reasons I really loved to work with Mali. Mali is in potential a big football nation and can compete with Ghana, with Cameroon, with Ivory Coast, with Nigeria and others for the best. But the last 10 years, 12 years, they didn't achieve that much. I remember that the last time they reached the semi-final was in 2013. There was a back-to-back semi-final, 2012, 2013, 2 times third. But after that, they finished 10th, 12th, 11th, 11th. And in the last AFCON, also the quarterfinal with the 7th spot. But if you look to the results, only twice they won 3 games in an AFCON in one tournament. That was in 2012 and in 2004. If you compare that with Gambia, where I was in 2021 in Cameroon, we won 3 matches with Gambia and became 6th at AFCON. We lost only against the host in the quarterfinal against Cameroon. I think Mali has the potential to reach again the semi-final. You need always luck in that. There are some small decisions, some small things what can happen in the game, what can be against you or for you. But in potential, we have the quality together with 10, 12 other countries to reach a semi-final. And that is also our target. When I signed the contract, we said we want to reach minimum the semi-final, and we dream a little bit about more. I think that Mali also could become African champion if you have all the luck on your side, if with cards, with injuries, with decisions of referees, and with balls going not on the post but in the goal. But then you need a lot of luck, and everything has to go right. But top 4 must be our ambition.
Well, let's look at the group. You are in Group A. Group A looks a little bit tough. You've got host nation Morocco, Then you've got Zambia, who just won the AFCON almost like a decade ago in 2012. Then you've got a team like Comoros, who are more like one of the underdogs in a lot of competitions nowadays. So now you've got two former AFCON winners. One is a host nation as well. Does that make Mali an underdog in your view? And does that yield to your advantage?
No, I don't think we are an underdog. The big favorite in our group is Morocco. That's clear. They are also the big favorite to win the cup. They have, first of all, a fantastic team. We have seen that in the World Cup in Qatar in 2022, but also their last development with under 20 with the senior team is amazing. And even if you see the players playing in Europe on top level, Morocco has a fantastic squad. Playing at home for the home crowd has always advantages. So they are the big favorite. Zambia is a good nation. I see that just today their coach has decided to leave Rand, so they will be looking for a new coach. So we don't know yet what to expect, which coach will come there and what kind of football they will play. Sure, 12, 13 years ago they won the cup, but it is a different team. And Comoros is a strong team also. They won their qualifiers ahead of Tunisia, Gambia and Madagascar. So they qualified as group winner. And we played against them in the qualifiers for the World Cup together with Ghana. So I think there are four teams who all four can go to the second round. But my guess is that Mali and Morocco will be number 1 and 2 or number 2 and 1, depending of the results. And that Zambia and Comoros will battle for maybe a third spot to qualify for the next round.
Well, Coach, let's zero in on Zambia, particularly because you just mentioned that Avram Grant earlier today announced that they had parted ways with the Zambian Football Federation. Just less than 60 days to the AFCON, and they are changing the coach. How do you think that will affect the team heading into the AFCON? Do you think it will affect the team, or once they got a good team with whoever leads the team is good enough to handle their affairs?
Yeah, we saw it also with Zimbabwe a few days ago. They also said goodbye to their coach. So there are a few teams who will have new coaches in charge. The Zambia situation is a little bit different. They qualified quite easy for AFCON, but in the World Cup qualifiers, they disappointed. They didn't gain so many points in the last months. And I think it's a dual reason. The lack of performance currently under coach Avram Grant, but also the financial situation. I saw something that the government is not eager anymore to give the same kind of funds, probably as disappointment after failing to be very competitive in the World Cup qualifiers. I think the team will be still good. The Zambian team is mostly based of players who play in Southern Africa, a few players play in Europe, but it's always a team with a lot of physical qualities, good skills, and always a good hype. Chipolo Bolo is always a team with a vibe in AFCON, and they can always surprise. So we won't take them easy. It's now looking out for who will be their coach, because every coach has his style of play, and that will be interesting. Does a coach going to change a lot compared to the previous months and years under Avram Grant, or will it be a similar football? That we will have to find out in the coming friendlies.
Facing the host nation Morocco in the group stage, it will be a very big game for Mali, because Morocco has a lot of good players. Yassin Bono, Ashraf Hakimi, who is even the Ghanaian for African Player of the Year. They've got good players who even play in Real Madrid, like Ibrahim Diaz as well. How would you manage and psych your players for that big game, where you'll be intimidated by the home support and the excellent players that Morocco possesses?
Yeah, I played only one time earlier against Morocco. That was in 2019 with Gambia, when Hervé Renard was their coach. We played in Marrakesh. That time there was also Hakimi, there was Ziyech, there was Bonu. And surprisingly, Gambia won that game with 0-1. That was that time a big surprise. Now it will be a competitive game where Morocco will start as favorite. They have brilliant players, a beautiful stadium where we play in Rabat. It will be sold out, and the majority will be naturally Moroccan fans. That will be a fantastic atmosphere. I think we don't have to be scared of that. We don't have to be stressed of that. We have to enjoy these kind of games. That's what we all want to play, these kind of games, and we have to believe in our own quality. We know that in the past, Morocco was very good in transition football, defensive football. In World Cup in 2022, they reached the semi-final because they played very good counter football out of a good organization, fast transition. Sometimes in the past, they had some problems with scoring goals. I think now with Bowie and LNFC, Morocco has also top class strikers and who are in shape. So Morocco will be difficult to be stopped, but also we have our qualities, and I'm sure that Morocco will be also preparing himself to neutralize our quality. So I think it will be a very interesting game. I'm a little bit disappointed it's not the opening match because that would have been more fun. But I'm really looking forward to that kind of game. It's always good to compete with the best. And as if our ambition is to reach the semi-final and stay as long as possible in the tournament, we can't be afraid of them. We have to be ready to face them, and we have to be ready to be well prepared. Hopefully, the majority of my squad will be available, that we don't have any injuries, that everyone is fit, and then I think we can give them a good battle.
Well, let's look at your key players and your team strength. Mali has produced some outstanding talents in recent years. One of such is Yves Bissouma, who is one of your key players, who unfortunately is injured at the moment. Amadou Haidar, who just recently returned from a long-term injury. He's now seeking some game time at RB Leipzig in Germany, as well as Dorgeles then, who is with Fenerbahce in Turkey, and some few other players. How important are these players to your system, and who has impressed you the most this season?
Yeah, first of all, Yves Bissouma is the captain, and his personality, his presence above also his football qualities, it's huge important for our team. It's a little bit sad he was not available in our September friendlies of qualifiers against the Comoros and against Ghana, and also the last game we couldn't benefit of him. So we really hope and pray that he will be ready before AFCON, because he's very important. Haidara, he was also not available in September. He made his return in the national team and did some minutes against Madagascar and Chad. Sadly enough, he didn't get game time yet for his club, but we hope it will develop well. And Nene Dorgeles is a brilliant player who is always crucial for our team and who's developing well in Fenerbahce. But we have many other good players. We have in the midfield a lot of choice of players. We have a young guy like Mamadou Sangaré playing week in, week out in Liga in France. We have some experienced guys as Lassana Koulibaly, who played for Lecce in the midfield, Mohamed Kamara, former Monaco player, now playing Al Sadd in Qatar, and Aliou Dieng, who play in Africa for Al Ahly, but who is also brilliant. So we have a lot of choices in the midfield, and in front with Comoros and Zambia, who scored 8 goals in 10 World Cup qualifiers as a non-striker, as a number 10, as a kind of winger who played for Stade Brest in France. We have a lot of quality, and I think we have also some young players. Woyu Koulibaly is a wingback who is quite dangerous. We have Lassine Sissoko, who played a brilliant last AFCON and who is getting in shape again, who scored 2 goals against Madagascar, and Gausso Diarra, who plays currently for Feyenoord. So we have more than only a few players who can make the difference. Naturally, we hope everyone is fit, that the choice is difficult for me to be taken, and that we have good alternatives on the bench. But Mali has developed so many quality players that, to make a selection, to make a final 23 or my final 25, it will be very tough because we have a lot of good players playing on good level. I hope only that no one takes an injury the coming weeks and coming months, and that the players who are injured return back to football and get in shape before AFCON.
If you had to pick one player to watch for Mali, who would that player be ahead of this tournament?
I don't want to help too much the opponent, but I think it's difficult to point at one player. I think we are a team with so much quality. I mentioned already a few. Comoros, who scored 8 goals in the qualifiers since I arrived. He did 9 games with me and scored 7 goals since my arrival in 12 matches. And he did 9 of them because in the beginning he was injured. So I think he's in brilliant shape. But together with Nene, with Lassine Sissoko, together with El Bilal Touré, who is also still returning from an injury, who played for Besiktas. knowing that also Yves Bissouma, when he's in shape, I think to keep an eye on one would be a risk for our opponent because we have a lot of players to keep an eye on.
Well, away from attacking, let's look at your defense. You currently have the best defensive record in Africa during the qualifiers, just 1 goal conceded. How proud are you of the defensive solidity and what's the philosophy behind it?
Yeah, first of all, I got always the reputation to be a defensive coach. I always said I'm not a defensive coach, I'm a winning coach. I would like to win, and if you build a team and if you want to compete with the best, a defense organization is important. If you build a house, a building, the structure of your house is crucial. Everyone would like to have a nice television or a painting or nice decoration in the house. It's like a football team where everyone would like to score goals and make dribbles and do funny stuff on the pitch. But more important is not to concede goals, to have a good structure. If you don't concede goals in international football, you don't lose. If you have the quality to score, you win. And sometimes, and that's not important when you play against maybe Comoros or Madagascar, but that's crucial when you play the top countries. When you as a country go to a World Cup, when you as a country go to an Africa Cup and you will compete with the best, you can score 3, but when the opponent score 4, you are out of the running. And we saw that in the past with several African countries when they went to World Cups, they played good football but didn't get the result because they play football like in Africa, thinking that they are the best. And you have to be also prepared to play football where you know that opponents have qualities, you neutralize the top qualities, and you optimize your qualities. And that's a little bit my philosophy. A good organization, we don't concede goals, and we try to score as much as possible goals because it's not defensive football. We won against Eswatini 6-0, we won against Madagascar 4-1, we won twice against Comoros 3-0 home and away. It shows that we can score a lot of goals even with a good defensive organization. And I think if you want to achieve something, if you want on World Cup level and African Cup level win titles or compete to stay as long as possible in the tournament, you need a very good organization.
Let's look at the groups so far. Group A has Comoros, Mali, Morocco, Zambia. Group B, Angola, Egypt, South Africa, Zimbabwe. Group C has Nigeria, Tanzania, Tunisia, Uganda. Group D, Benin, Botswana, DR Congo, Senegal. Group E, Algeria, Burkina Faso, Equatorial Guinea, Sudan. Group F, Cameroon, Gabon, Ivory Coast, and Mozambique. Coach Tom Saintfiet, which group will you say is the group of death?
At the draw, everyone spoke about our group. I think in our group are 4 teams who can qualify. Comoros in 2021 reached the quarterfinal. Zambia is always at AFCON and reached even won even the title. And actually, the host Morocco is strong, and we as Mali. The last 20 years, we were always at AFCON. So I think we are probably the strongest group. On the other side, you can't underestimate any group. In every group, you have 2 big nations, and then 2 nations people maybe who don't know African football will underestimate. But in my eyes, also these nations who are less known, they can surprise. We saw it in 2019 with Madagascar, in 2021 with Gambia and Comoros. Also in 2023, Cape Verde in the past, now Cape Verde going to the World Cup. The small countries in Africa can make surprises. And I think about Tanzania, I think about Sudan, I think about Uganda. These are countries people maybe don't rate too high, but in AFCON they can reach also far. And there are no easy groups. The moment you got qualified for an Africa Cup, you're a good country. And on the African soil, on the African continent, it's not always where the players play in Europe, how much they earn. It's the eagerness, the desire to represent the country, the fighting spirit, and the doing everything for your country, to willing to die for your country. You can decide if you can reach far. So I think our group on paper is the most difficult because we have 4 nations really with a history already on African football and who are currently aiming high, but every group has its difficulties.
Well, let's look at one team or one nation where you made history. The Gambia, you made history with them, guided them to their first ever AFCON qualification and a quarter-final run. What memories stand out for you from that time?
Yeah, I was working a long period in in African football already, and I was sometimes close to the big jobs. Nigeria at Super Eagles, I was a few times mentioned in the last 15 years, mostly the main candidate or even nominated as technical director in 2012. With Togo, I was on the way to qualify in 2016 for the 2017 AFCON, and 2 games before the end, when we were only had to play Djibouti and Liberia, the head of state requested to change because of an investment of a French investment group. Then Claude Roy came, but he was not successful. He couldn't qualify after my arrival anymore. And then the chance to go to Gambia. At that moment, 172 in the world. When I arrived in Gambia, they had not won a competitive match for 5 years. Their last win was in September 2013 against Tanzania, a 3-2 win. And I arrived in July 2018, so 5 years later. I arrived and I told immediately the president, vice president, I said, I'm here to qualify. And they said, oh, coach, let's first try to win a match. But I really believed in the potential. I did my homework. I knew which players were available and which future players, dual citizenship, young players who were playing in different places. So I did my homework, and I rebuilt it step by step, together with the federation, with a brilliant team manager, Usman Drami, with the support of the president, with the support of the government. We really built a strong team, and it was impressive. First of all, to qualify, because we were in the pre-qualification against Djibouti, and then in the qualifying round we were with Angola, DR Congo, and Gabon, and then getting an Africa Cup and reaching the quarterfinal with beating Tunisia, beating Guinea-Conakry and Mauritania, and drawing with Mali, and only losing against the host was really a fantastic experience. And I'm very proud of my time. The 2 qualifications in the Rome with Gambia. I'm also honored that I received the Gambian nationality, and yeah, I will be always a Gambian, and Gambia will be always in my heart.
One of your former players, Yankuba Minteh, is now shining in the Premier League with Brighton and Hove Albion.
And I never expected that there would be a transfer around 32 million immediately after 1 year Feyenoord going to Brighton. But he got the offer, he went there, and then you think, okay, now Premier League will be more difficult. He's a young guy still, he needs time to adapt, but also there he stepped in and immediately proved his quality. And I think Brighton is only a step in his career, but not the end of his career. He has so much potential. He's a professional, but he's also a very kind, humble guy. It's a pleasure as a coach to work with him, and I expect that he will reach much higher even than this.
Well, earlier on I asked you who would be the player to watch from the Mali team, and you were quite coy, you didn't give me a name. But in terms of the African players, we even saw a host of players who made it to the Player of the Year. Which player would you love to see in action at the AFCON? Which player would you say would be the player to watch away from Mali, but in the tournament general at this year's AFCON?
Yeah, I would say I only want to see Malian players performing very well, because they are all competitors. They are all our opponents when it goes about AFCON. But I'm sure that the Moroccan team and Hakimi will reach far in the tournament. I expect also something of Anguissa from Cameroon, Osimhen from Nigeria, if we keep on that list, who is now nominated. Salah with Egypt, they can reach far. I think sometimes as a player you need also luck. Anguissa, Irisa is not there with Guinea-Conakry, but you need a little bit luck that your team stay long in the tournament, because you can be a very good player, but if your team is kicked out in the first round or even in the second round, the people don't remember you. And if you can stay as long as possible in the tournament, if you reach semi-final or even final, and that's a moment to shine for most of the players. And I think we have a lot of potential favorites for the tournament to win the title. I think Morocco is the big favorite, but also Algeria, Senegal, and Nigeria are, for me, the biggest contenders to win that title. But then we have also teams as Cameroon, as Ivory Coast, South Africa, Burkina Faso, DR Congo, Mali, Tunisia, and Egypt who can reach the semi-final and compete with the best. And if your team is one of them, I think a few of these players earlier mentioned will also shine on the tournament. The Africa Cup is always a brilliant tournament. It's a tournament sometimes negative judged by European followers, but it's high level. It's an honor for every coach and player to compete in it. And I'm 100% sure that in Morocco we will have a festival of beautiful football, and we will see the great stars of African football shining.
Well, coach, let's look at you now. Personally, for you, this will be your third AFCON appearance as a coach. You were with the Gambia twice. In your first one, you reached the knockout stages, the quarterfinals. Then the second one, unfortunately, you exited at the group stage. This will be your third one, and your second with a different country. What does this mean? What does this one mean for you, particularly, personally, and what will success mean for you as a coach?
Yeah, first of all, I'm quite honored because there are only two coaches currently who made the three last AFCONs. That's Micha from Equatorial Guinea and I, who are the only two coaches who qualified for the last three AFCONs, who are 3 times in a row. So it's an honor to be one of them. With Gambia, it was a great experience. First AFCON quarterfinal, second AFCON, we were in a very tough group. We were with the African champion Senegal, we were with Cameroon, and we were with Guinea-Conakry. And even in the last game, we were 5 minutes before the end, still qualified for the second round, leading 2-1 against Cameroon. But then we lost it, and we couldn't qualify for the second round. Now with Mali, a team what goes to every Africa Cup as an outsider to reach something. And for me also, the reason I chose to sign with Mali, I want to play for the highest in African football. I always said I would like to go to a World Cup. I would like to win titles in African football. To win a title, you need a lot of luck. And as I mentioned, there are 10 to 12 teams who can win that cup in Rabat in Morocco on the 18th of January of 2026. But we have said when I signed the contract, and we all agree that we want to stay till the semi-final. That must be our aim. And I want to do everything together with my staff, with the federation, with the government, and most of all with the players to achieve that. We need luck. You need luck in injuries, in actions in the game, going in or not going in the goal. But we have the potential to stay till the semi-final. And that's the target. And with less, I don't think we will be satisfied. So we put a high target, but we're going to try to repeat what Mali did in 2012 and 2013 by reaching the semi-final.
Let's touch on a very delicate subject here. In Africa here, there's always a debate about players born abroad suddenly choosing to represent African countries when it's closer to major competitions, especially the World Cup. What's your take on that trend, and is it good for the game, or does it raise challenges?
Oh, it's a double question. I experienced it also when I was with the Gambia. We had some dual citizen players who are born in Sweden, in Germany, in Switzerland. They are sometimes not so eager to play the qualifiers. They don't like too much to travel around in Africa, to play away games against Mozambique or to play in Central African Republic. That they don't like, but the big tournaments they like to come. It's a mixed feeling. I like players who love their country, and loving your country means in any situation, not only in a World Cup where everything is top organized, not only in the Africa Cup where everything is good organized, but also in qualifiers and friendly matches where you travel the continent around and represent your country. For me, a player who's not willing to represent his country in qualification and in friendlies, I would not be so eager to select him for the national team. It's not about quality only. It's about your heart. It's about your belief. It's about your love for the country, and that's proven in the past. It's not always the best African countries and the players with the most stars who achieve the best. it's sometimes the players who are most committed. Think about Ghana in 2010 when they did the fantastic World Cup in South Africa. Michael Essien was not available at that period with an injury, but 5 boys who came from the under-20 squad who became world champion in 2009, together with Ian and some other guys, they made it happen for Ghana, and everyone was celebrating and hoping that they would beat Uruguay if there was not a hand from Suarez. And so it's not always about star players; it's more about commitment. So for me, a player must be willing to play in Africa, also qualifiers. Only when you really need, when there is lack of quality, when there is lack of choice, you consider it. But the guys who qualify the country for the tournament, for the World Cup, I would say let them go to the World Cup because they did everything to qualify. So I'm more eager to select the players who are loyal to the country and who are always available.
Finalement, deux questions en français. Quelles sont vos attentes vis-à-vis de cette équipe malienne avant cette CAN?
Oui, quand je suis au Mali, on a dit qu'on veut jouer les demi-finales au Coupe Afrique. Et je pense qu'on a les qualités, on a improuvé les dernières 12-14 mois. On a 8 victoires, 3 matchs nuls et seulement une défaite contre Ghana extérieur. On a créé une équipe solide et j'espère que la majorité des joueurs sont disponibles, qu'on n'a pas de blessures. J'espère le retour du Yves Bissouma, du Haïdara, du El Bilal Touré, que tout le monde est disponible et notre ambition est claire. On veut rester jusqu'à la fin, on veut jouer les demi-finales et après on va voir, mais c'est pas facile. Et il y a pas 10, 12 pays qui peuvent jouer les demi-finales. Mais quand tous les joueurs sont disponibles, je pense qu'on a une équipe qui peut faire un surpris au CAN et on va faire tout pour ça.
Qu'est-ce que le succès représentera pour vous dans ce tournoi?
Pour nous, les demi-finales, c'est le minimum qu'on demande. Le dernier CAN, Mali a gagné les 7e place, les quarts finales. Avant ça, 2 CAN seulement deuxième tour et avant 2 CAN phase de groupe. Mais on a dit on veut jouer les demi-finales. Naturellement, tu as besoin de peu de chance. Il y a l'adversaire, il y a des moments de match que tu ne peux pas toujours contrôler, les décisions d'un arbitre ou quelque chose comme ça. Mais c'est clair, on est ambitieux et on va être seulement content qu'on a joué les demi-finales.
Thank you very much, sir, Tom Saintfiet. So that's African Football Corner with experienced African coach Tom Saintfiet. So thank you very much, sir, for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.